Listen, most people do not have a problem with setting big goals. They have a problem with having a process to follow in order to hit the target. Look, my name is Nick Nascimento. I have crushed it in sales, made hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. I've made millions in commissions. I've built a company that produces over 30 million in revenue. I've transformed my physique, transform relationships, and I'm here to share with you guys the game-changing strategies, mindsets, and exact systems that you can take away from this video and implement, whether it's your health, whether it's your sales targets, your income, whatever goal it is. I'm gonna help you absolutely smash that target. There's 6 sections, okay? We're gonna cover the what, the why, the how, the when, the where, and who. I'm saving most important for last, that is the who. You guys will understand when we get there. So stay to the end. So number 1, you have to understand the difference between rocks and pebbles. In other words, you have to understand the difference between targets and tasks. Just doing things and accomplishing things doesn't mean you're being productive. So you have to compartmentalize what's a big goal, what's a macro target that actually makes a difference in your life, something that you really want, and then what are the micro actions to get there. And sometimes there's even tasks that we do that don't even move us closer towards the macro goal. But people get distracted in being busy or quote unquote productive, but they're busy running in figure eights, not going anywhere. To help you guys further understand, imagine you have 2 buckets, 4 rocks and a bunch of pebbles you're fitting in each one. On bucket A over here, imagine we put all the pebbles and rocks in at the same time. What ends up happening is you can't fit as much in that bucket. Whereas if we had put the big rocks in the bucket first and placed the smaller pebbles around it, you can fit a lot more. This is how you need to structure your goals in your life. What are these big targets? And what other areas of your life are you going after? If you're watching this trying to take your sales to the next level, this is the right video for you. But there's other areas of your life that you don't want to sacrifice. Set those big targets, whether it's your health, your relationships, your sales, your income, your investing, your career, your mission, leadership. Set those big anchors in your life and actually put them on the calendar and then fit everything else around that. That's step 1. 3 key things here I want to talk about, okay? Any goal you set, it should, number 1, excite you. Number 2, it should scare you. And then number 3 is it should push you a little bit, it should be out of your comfort zone. It should be a little bit hard to reach. If you set a goal that's too far ahead, it's an unrealistic goal, you're going to lose motivation because your brain is going to tell you, hey, this is unrealistic, and you're going to lose all motivation to achieve it. So I do not believe in shooting for the moon and landing on the stars. I believe in shooting for where you know you can freaking land and going straight there and landing it and then going to the next level. So this leads me to the next thing, which is called the domino effect, guys. Look, you have to understand anything great, any great feat, any great success takes time. This last year, I built an event called SalesCon with 250 people. My vision wasn't to have 250 people, it's to have eventually thousands of people. But this was my first domino I had to lay down because I know the next one I can do 1,000, the next one I can do 2,000. Same thing with my income. It was first get to 20,000 a month, then get to 50,000, then 100, then 200,000 a month. Then it was become a leader and delegate, help other people achieve those numbers. And now I can create that kind of income without having to trade my time for money. So I'm gonna teach you guys this same process. You have to delay gratification and think not just in 1 year, but think 5 to 10. We often overestimate how much we can do in 1 year, but people drastically underestimate how much they can do in 5 or 10. The reason it's important to think long-term is because you'll understand the power of the domino effect and you'll take action on who you're becoming, which will ultimately determine whether you do really big things in your life or not, because no person achieves anything great in just a year alone. So if you're planning out your goals for 2026 or whatever year you're watching this, I hope you think bigger than just 1 year. Now, we're gonna go into the second part here, okay? Listen, you guys have probably heard, if your why is big enough, you'll find a way how. That is very true. Before we jump into the how, you have to prioritize the why. The why is the impact. How is this serving or empowering other people? You say, Nick, this is my goal. What does this have to do with other people? Everything. Anybody read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you will understand, or The Go-Giver. The more we give, the more we get. You don't have to be Christian, you don't have to be a person that loves serving people, but you have to shift your mindset and actually understand that the more you can help other people and create more value in the marketplace, which requires you to be more valuable, take a lot of action, the more you will get rewarded. It's a natural law, you cannot avoid it. Now, when it comes to passion, I do believe you have to be passionate to have great success. Now, passion just isn't loving what you do. There's 3 factors. I've learned this from Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great. He studied businesses, the top businesses in the world for over 3 decades and realized there was a pattern with the leadership. And these companies that thrive like Starbucks, Apple, companies that were at a whole other level than everyone else in the industry, that lasted decades and became titans. They all had what's called this hedgehog concept. And it was three things that they focused on. What are we the best in the world at? What drives our economic engine, basically what makes money? And what are we deeply passionate about? See, a lot of you guys will set goals that say, hey, I'm deeply passionate about art. But how does that make you money? And are you good at it? Now, if you can align all three of these things, the skill, passion, and opportunity, in the middle is something great. For example, I'm very good at selling, but it doesn't mean it's the biggest opportunity for me. I can actually make more and produce more results and serve more people if I create leaders in sales, because then I can have a ripple effect. Or if I onboard and train 100 people in my company, we can reach 100,000 people in 1 year. I can't do that solo, no matter if I'm the best salesman on the planet or not. You have to align with all three of these, and if you do, this will help you avoid what people call burnout. The reason the why is important is because if you get this step right, you hedge and prevent burnout. But if you are locked in on why you do something, you won't get burnt out. And again, the last step of this is the who. That's the most important part to avoid burnout. You have to shift your focus from the prize, the target, the weight loss, the amount of sales you want, the income you want, and reverse engineer that macro goal into micro actions, and forget the macro goal and obsess on the micro actions and create a system, a structure to follow to hit that. I've actually built out a blueprint. I'm not selling this, but this is just to show you, it's $100,000 a month sales playbook. Okay, I've used this exact system to create a step-by-step blueprint to take the guessing game out of goal setting. And people in my industry, they call it the solar coaster, or sales coaster, where they have good days, they have bad days, and it's just up and down. For me, it was consistent success back to back to back to back. And it was because I could reverse engineer the macro targets of goals into micro actions and create a simple structure and system around that without sacrificing other areas of my life, but actually thriving in those areas. So I live by a core value. It's process over prize, or progress over prize. The prize gets us focused on what we don't have yet. It creates scarcity. And so it's not good to think about the prize, because it creates laziness, entitlement, and fear. Now, if you focus on the process, controllables, that is what you need to obsess on, is what is in my control. I can't force people to say yes, no matter how good I am at convincing and persuasion, asking the best questions, the perfect tonality. It doesn't matter. Not everybody's gonna buy. And even if they did, you're gonna be manipulating people, right? You have to understand there's a process. What can I control? Well, I can control how many hours I train. I can control how many people I talk to, how many reps I do at the gym, how many books I read, how many seminars I attend, how many calls I make. Successful people look for the end target, reverse engineer into micro actions, and they create a system to follow. In other words, key point indicators, KPIs. These are numbers that they measure day to day. For example, when I was selling solar, days I make 3 sales, make $30,000, I was unfazed. In fact, I was actually getting hard on myself because I wasn't hitting my other KPIs of inputs. That's how divorced I was from the prize and how married I was to the process. It's a large part of the reason why I was making $200,000 in net commissions per month. Look, there's another thing called the E3 formula, okay? For example, in sales, you have education and effort, right? Skill and volume. They're both paramount. But what most people forget is efficiency, time management. You could be the most talented salesperson in the world and the hardest working. I can still train somebody to beat you that has half your talent. Somebody that is a master with their time management. Look, Jim Rohn, master sales trainer, taught Tony Robbins, who's trained all the best salespeople and business owners in the world, that said there's 2 types of time. There's major time and minor time. Don't be the guy or gal that majors in minor things. Minor things in sales, for example, is anything but being in front of a qualified prospect. Major time is one thing, the time you spend in front of a qualified prospect. So great salespeople obsess on major time. The efficiencies are, how can I reduce the amount of wasted time? Okay, it could be a dialer if you're on the phones, if you're knocking door to door. It could be a segue, creating some kind of educational content, podcast, or audio library for when you're in your car. That's a form of efficiency. It could be simply automating your life. We'll talk more about this, but setting subscriptions on Amazon, hiring out other people to do work. We're gonna cover these principles to help make you more efficient. The problem in sales, for example, is not people telling you no. The problem is you allowing people to waste your time. Let's jump into the next thing here, is the win. So now that you have the system, you have the KPIs, you need to block off the time on the calendar, and you are completely obsessed about following a schedule in the system. As I got around 9-figure entrepreneurs and billionaires, I realized how different they were than 8 and 7-figure entrepreneurs. They are relentless about their calendar. One of my mentors has 4 assistants. One of them's job is just to help manage every single minute on his calendar and make sure nothing gets missed. Time is the most valuable asset we have. We can get more money, we can transform our health, but time we can't get back. And whether you have no money in the bank or you are, worth $100 million, we all are on the same playing field with time. That's the beauty. With time blocking, it is taking these specific KPIs, this system that you have to follow, and then you plug it into a calendar on a window from 12 to 3. I'm gonna hit these KPIs, make these phone calls, do this workout, these reps, and you follow that, okay? And then you create a system of accountability. You need 3 people in your life. You need somebody at your level, somebody just above you, and somebody who's kicking your ass. Create all 3, okay? As you have somebody to mentor you, they're always gonna believe in you. The people that you're competing with that are also accountability partners, you will surpass them, and eventually a lot of these people will get jealous. That's why you need somebody ahead of you, because they're not gonna be intimidated by the success usually. And then somebody to chase, somebody who's just ahead of you, because usually what they're doing is what you need to focus on, not your mentor, because they're usually 10 steps ahead of you. You need to find someone usually 2 steps ahead of you. If you're making $500,000, don't go to the guy making $5 million. Find out somebody who's making $750,000 or $1 million, follow their process. Now, when it comes to prioritization, this is one of the skills that has bought me the most time back and made me the most money. Now, what I'll tell you guys, backing up, zooming in out in this whole thing of goal setting, Nick, you're talking about systems, you're talking about scheduling and time. I'll tell you, if somebody comes in my office and says, Nick, help me get from 250K to 750K. I said, easy. Follow my system, follow the schedule. First 2 things. If they can't do those 2 things, it's not gonna work. We need consistency and we need commitment. If you can't commit to this schedule, you're not gonna be successful. I'm sorry. You can't shortcut success. The only shortcut to success is mentorship. You still have to put in the work and the time and develop the skills. Okay, now when it comes to prioritization, especially as you become a leader and you have more things on your plate, how do you choose what to do first? This is critical to success. Okay? It's so critical that you get the big things done, especially first on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and so on. Guys, look, when it comes to salespeople, entrepreneurs, your ability or lack of ability to prioritize what to do first will be one of the key inhibitors to your success. There's a few things you gotta know. Number 1, how important is this thing? For example, making a sales call. How important is that? I gotta make 20 calls a day versus send an email, respond to a follow-up, right? That might be urgent, but it might not be massively important. If you have somebody trying to cancel, that's urgent. Now, important is gonna be something that really moves the needle, like training or like hiring on a new person and developing a new system for your team or your company. Ease, just because it's not urgent important doesn't mean you don't do it first. If it's easy, knock it out, do it quick. How confident are you that that thing that you're gonna implement or do is actually gonna make an impact towards your larger macro goals? And ripple effect. I learned this from another entrepreneur who built Quest, sold it for over $1 billion. And he said his ability to pick out items on a list of 100 different things he had to do, he didn't just go off of what was most important or urgent or easy. He also thought, what is one thing I can do now that will make all the other 99 things happen faster or better to some regard? So that might be optimizing your environment. That might be creating slicks. It might be using a better CRM. It's part of that efficiency process. How can you maximize the time? Now, weekly planning is essential. No matter how good you are at setting any target, whether it's a year, a month, a quarter, multiple years, weekly planning is one of the biggest hacks I've discovered to achieving those targets, because you need these increments to measure a few things. Number 1, you review, how am I doing when it comes to numbers and personally. I measure 2 things, how am I doing personally, how am I doing professionally? And I look at the 6 pillars of my life: physical health, emotional health, my relationships, financial health, career, spirituality, okay? And then I refine, okay, where am I lacking? And then I recommit. I set a new goal to improve where I'm weak. And then instead of trying to do 5 to 10 new things that week, I just pick 1 or 2 and I implement and I add that to my stack. It could be a new set of vitamins. It could be a new person I'm gonna hire. It could be a new routine at the gym. And doing this every single week, not on Monday, but usually on a Sunday, I think is best. For some of you it might be Saturday, for some of you it might be Friday. But doing this is critical. You have to follow this process. And great entrepreneurs like Grant Cardone said his success was measured by 2 simple things: his ability to set a target and evaluate the target every night. He said because he did those 2 things, that's where he is now, a billionaire, very successful man, okay? So guys, section 5 is where? It's priming your environment. Look, if you have the biggest goals, the perfect system, but your environment is off, it's gonna inhibit how far and how fast you can move. One of the easiest hacks is optimizing the environment. 2 factors of this: location and people, okay? So first, location. If you're trying to work from home, are you distracted with kids? Are you justifying making that work? Okay, being present is massive, and so it might be more optimal for you to go rent or buy an office space somewhere else. Are you working out from home and struggle going longer for an extended period of time. Go get a gym membership. Another factor is the people you work with and who you surround yourself with. You want to surround yourself with people that have like-minded goals. It's not just adding new people, that's part of it. You also need to figure out who is inhibiting you. It usually is family or friends or relatives that you justify keeping in your life. You can still keep them in your life, but you need to set boundaries and protect yourself and your energy, because everything is energy and people infect you either negatively or positively, good or bad. You cannot ignore it. Who you have around you is critical. So prime your environment for success. Eliminate people who are not adding to your life, not making it better, okay? Here's a simple prompt. Write down the people closest to you in your life, the top 10. Is this person creating a net positive impact in my life? Or are they creating a net negative impact? And if it's more net negative than it is positive, figure out a way. You don't need to slash and say, hey, you're out of my life completely, but set boundaries. I see people take impulsive random calls. Reactive energy is not gonna get you results. Proactive planning, intentional work is what gets you results. Guard your time, set boundaries with people in your life, cut distractions, cut different people that are slowing you down, and pull in people that are gonna pull you up and help you accelerate. Section 6 is who. So there's 3 parts here: identity alignment, mentorship, and delegation. So this goes back to your why. What goal are you setting out to do? And understanding how that correlates with who you want to become. Not what you want to achieve, not what house you're in, but what man or woman do you want to become? What attributes, what traits, what impact you want to have? The impact is the why, the character traits, and who you are is the who. If those 2 things become the obsession of focus, you'll have rocket fuel, okay, to get you to where you want to go. And you will not feel burnout. You'll feel a lot of conviction. You'll work longer hours, harder than most people, doing the same monotonous thing, but never get burnt out. Listen, the other part is mentorship. This is the only shortcut to success, is finding out who has achieved what I want, that goal, and what systems do they follow, what schedule do I follow, exactly what I'm telling you guys here, and then copy and paste. I see people come in, they go to a mentor and they're like, I'm gonna tweak this. If you have something wrong with that, then go find a mentor that has what you want. I've gone to many successful men and women and said, you know what? There's some character things that I don't align with. And so therefore I take some advice, but I have a filter. But I also have other mentors where I can take verbatim almost everything. It's very important that you find people that you trust in every area of your life. Okay, do they have the business and the money? Great. Well, do they have the relationship you want? Great. Do they have the health that you want? Nobody's perfect, but you have to audit in that sense. Okay, never take advice from somebody in a field where they don't have what you want. Finally, delegate. After you identify what you want, why you want it, who you need to get around, understand who can you task things to that you don't need to do. With my company goal, we want to do over 2,000 jobs sold over the next 6 to 12 months. I can't do that solo, and so I have to delegate to other people. When creating content, I don't have time to do the back end, the editing and everything, so I delegate to other people. I have an assistant to help manage my schedule. I have a COO to help operations. It started out as a rep, sales rep, no business, but I hired out other people to do these things. DoorDash is an example. Paying people to detail your car, clean your house. These are not snobby things to do. It's actually empowering other people with a job and an opportunity, and so I think it's a great thing. You need to learn to obsess on buying back your time so you can use that time to develop better skills, become more valuable, and to also put more work into things that you love that create more impact, that ultimately bring you more money and help you hit your goals. Guys, I hope this video brought you value. I hope you guys set massive goals, understand why you do it, you follow the process in a system, and you obsess on the process to get you the results, and you create the accountability, you create the environment, and you get aligned with who you're becoming and where you want to go. I promise if you guys follow this blueprint, you will crush massive goals, and not only will you achieve what you want, you will feel fulfilled along the way. If this was valuable to you guys, I love you guys. Please subscribe to the channel for more content like this.